Hello and welcome to this live coding session presented by Jack Oberpfalz. Thank you very much for joining so far. My name is Johannes Rabauer. I will be your host for this session. And today we will talk about BMAD Method. And I have a special guest today. His name is Brian Madison, and he's the creator of that said method. So, a little bit of a disclaimer. As always, this is live coding and it's not scripted, so expect many mistakes, but usually there is some learning to be found. All right, without further ado, let me introduce to you Brian Madison. Hi, Brian.
Hey, man, welcome. It's so nice to see you, man. Johannes, how are you doing? Sorry, I said welcome. I'm used to doing these shows too, but you are the host this time, which is something I'm going to have to get used to. But nice to meet you, man. I'm really excited to be here. How are you?
Me too. I'm really great. I hope you're fine too. And I'm really excited about this session because I heard a lot about the BMAD method, but I never really got the time to look into it. And you will show us what's that all about. But first, can you give us a little overview of what you do, where you come from, and how this method was created?
Yeah, wow, that is a great question and a long answer. So first of all, just to introduce myself, my name is Brian, as you said. I go by BMAD. So BMAD is the name of the method. It is also just a nickname that I've had for a long time. And so I mapped that kind of to what I developed. But I've been a software engineer, Johannes, for maybe going on 30 years now. It's been a long time. I started out in the military, got out of the military, and in the military, I did electronics, was in the U.S. Army, got to travel the world, got to see a lot of cool places. Nice. And when I was doing the electronics, I really started getting exposed to programming and computers, even in the late 90s. It was really exciting. When I got out after the dot-com era kind of had that bubble back in the early 2000s, I'm like, you know what? Everybody's out of work and all this stuff went bad, but I think it's going to come back. So I decided to get into software and start doing software engineering. And I've been doing it, ever since. I love it. So I worked in simulation and defense. I had some really cool work with NASA that I did on the Constellation program. I've worked at the FBI. I've done a lot of government contracting where I would build simulations and do different events. Had a lot of fun. I loved being a coder. And about 15 years ago, I'll say, I kind of switched over to the e-commerce web development side of things. Did a lot of Java back in the day, which I know you're a Java guy. And then I kind of switched over to JavaScript and web front ends. And, oh, Johannes, I think I might have lost you. Are you frozen? I might. Uh-oh, connection issues. Maybe we're still live here.
Sorry.
Oh, lost you again, Johannes. You gotta love live, right?
Sorry.
No problem.
Do you hear me?
I can hear you now. You're back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, great. Sorry, I don't know. I could still hear you and everything. Okay, sorry.
No problem. You know what? I was just rambling on about my background. Kind of went through, a Java period doing simulation stuff. Then I got into web development about 15 years ago. And, I really switched over to management and managing teams. Okay. And now I manage a large team at a software startup that's in California called Extend. And it's very exciting. I love it. We have really cool modern tech stack, great community of people to work with. And it's really a good segue into how we got to where we are right now. Because about a year and a half ago, wow, time flies, maybe even close to 2 years now, we saw this transition across all of software engineering. I'm sure you're aware of it too, right? Copilot came out, which I think we'll actually be using today. But the Copilot of a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, the transformation that it was really having was, it was giving us this great autocomplete. You would type, and it seemed like magic at the time, right? Going back 2-3 years ago, I got to say, I remember when IntelliSense became a big thing.
Yeah.
I guess I should go back a little bit.
You got a suggestion if you press dot or
yeah,
something,
and that was
you get
magic.
a nice suggestion. Sorry.
I glossed over this, but let me take a little bit of a segue back. In the early 2000s, when I was doing military simulations and all of these things, we would go to these events, and I was doing Java. And I remember back in the day carrying around like bags of books to go to like different software events, because even if you had access to the internet, the information just wasn't really great out there. So every software engineer had stacks of books. They weren't just for decorating the background of the wall. Like when you would go to the office, it was almost a bragging right of who had the most books that they would lug into the office. But I remember going to these training events and just bringing stacks of Java books with us in case something would happen. We would actually have to like look through these books and be like, oh yeah, there's this function we can use here. Yeah, so when IntelliSense came out, that was mind blowing, right? When that became like really popular. And then when that became this autocomplete from a couple of years ago with AI and Copilot, that was a magical moment. I mean, it's primitive by today's standards now, but that was unreal, and that kind of gave us a glimpse of what was coming, right? When it could start giving like whole snippets of code that you could just accept. So about a year and a half ago, everybody in the organization and pretty much across the industry was using GitHub Copilot and, getting this AI autocomplete that could, refactor small sections and do some code. But then, Cursor started getting really big in Sonnet 3.5. And it showed this promise of there's more that AI can do with the agent mode, and with the ability for the AI to just do so much. All of the sudden, we were able to copy or highlight whole pieces of text and ask it questions about it and have it refactor it. So it went beyond AI autocomplete. It was wild. We saw this transition where it started replacing Stack Overflow. People just getting into this now, they might not even know Stack Overflow, which is crazy, because that was... Right. That was what replaced like books and looking things up was Stack Overflow. That was the answer to everything. And now even that a few years later is gone. But longer story short, we started rolling out Cursor. Sonnet 3.5 had come out, and it was showing this real promise that we could actually do even more than what just GitHub Copilot was giving us. And we rolled it out across the company, and I've seen this at many places, right? When you just roll out the tools, you expect this big change and this big explosion to happen, and it didn't really have a big impact. When we rolled out Cursor, what we saw was it was like great for doing multiple line edits all at once, and it had like this really good tab autocomplete where it kind of started to almost felt like it was reading your mind. And it did seem amazing at the time. Like it could help you go through a file, but we were still manually writing the code, looking at the code. It was helping us basically type faster. All of these IntelliSense, the early autocompletes, and then even the Cursor, the multi-tab, it just felt like faster ways to code, faster ways to think, but you were still the pilot, still in control. And I started to see on YouTube about that time, people just making these amazing claims that, no experience necessary. You can use Cursor in the agent mode and build your $1 million SaaS application overnight, even if you know nothing about software. And these videos were all over, right? They've kind of died off a little bit now as the hype has kind of gone down. But this is so different from what I'm seeing at work, where people might try the agent mode, they try it once, and it just didn't work out, right? They're like, no, I'm smarter than this. Like, it's doing all these dumb things. I can do it better. At the same time, even in my own company, though, there were some of us that were seeing that we could actually talk to this agent and it could actually do some pretty good things and build some good things. So I knew somewhere in between the spectrum of it's amazing, it can do everything for you, versus no, this is garbage. I can do this better myself. The answer had to be somewhere there in between.
Yeah.
So that's where I really just kind of threw myself at this. And I said, I'm going to see how far I can actually get this thing to build a somewhat complex application about 1.5 years ago, something like we'll build today. And the tools were nowhere as near as good as they are right now 1.5 years ago. But still, I was able to get, Sonnet 3.5 in Cursor with its, limited context window of the time. And I would see what everybody else saw. Before there was a name for vibe coding, that's basically what I was doing after work every day. I would sit on the couch with the laptop, and I was trying to just vibe code this application. As a matter of fact, I think I even had, Super Whisper or something at the time, and would like talk to it and would see the same thing everybody was talking about, right? It would go so far, and then it would start like cheating on tests, or just getting stuck in test loops, or ripping apart code and doing things over, and making silly technology choices and implementing 3 different types of databases or whatever, right? It was chaos. And it would get so far, it would be like magic, and then it would all fall apart. And I started to develop these techniques that I think are pretty commonplace right now. But we just didn't have the words or the ideas for it at the time. We thought the magic was, let's just set up all the cursor rules, and that will get us there, right? So the early magic, and even the early videos I did on my channel that I've talked about recently, they were all about cursor rules. If you just have the right rules, the AI will be perfect and it'll get through it. But we see that also only got us so far. And so over and over, I would just build the same application, and I would see where it would fail. And then I started realizing, like, oh, if I have some documents in place that tell it what structure I want to use or what technologies I want to use, it would get a little bit farther, and it would stop making the same stupid decisions, and I could reference that file to it. There were no skills at the time yet, so it was just kind of like files and pointing it to the right things. And then I said, well, what if I, take the ideas? I've been, coaching teams. I used to be a consultant and would go out and, train on Agile and just these Agile principles. I said, they kind of mapped to what I'm slowly starting to progress here, which is coming up with a list of the requirements that I wanted to do, breaking it down, giving the LLM small pieces of work at a time, making sure it sticks to to an outline or to some kind of structure. And little by little, I saw that I could get it farther to where I could start over. I would go back to the beginning, start over, and just drive to the end, and it would get there, right? Out of that kind of came the BMAD method. I guess I'll say, long story short again, where these ideas started to solidify, like, oh, I can have a PRD and break it down. And if I put an architecture in place, which was, just a table with technology choices, what to use, what not to use, just a simple architecture, and gave that to the LLM and told it, okay, we're just going to build this first story or this first little unit of work, it would do it. And there was another kind of idea that I had at the same time, which now is kind of commonplace, but at the time, I don't think it was. And that was, there were no skills. There were no real ways to kind of like organize these prompts. And so I said, why not put a persona in there so I can remember, oh, a product manager, right? They're the ones that create the PRD, or a, Scrum Master can help me break this thing up into small tickets, or an architect can help. So I started creating these personas, and the persona files in the version 1 of the BMAD method had these workflows built into them. So you would talk to the product manager. You didn't have to know there's this X skill and that does this, or I use this prompt to do this. It was more natural. I could just talk to the product manager, and I realized, oh, the LLM actually kind of even takes on that persona, and it helps me make it better. I saw when it has this lens of, you are a product manager, and we're going to create a PRD, especially 1.5 years ago. I think the models have advanced where maybe you don't have to kind of do that as much, but it really just kind of helped pull everything together and modularize it. And these ideas, like I said, I just got it to build to the end. I was able to take it back to the teams, and I saw this amazing kind of, just a revolution almost, where people went from they went to try these techniques. Over 2 weeks, I had the team just try these techniques. I said, I know the agent mode hasn't been working very well in the past. For 2 weeks, just force yourself to try doing this methodology. whether or not you're using the BMAD, just do what I did every night for weeks and weeks coming up with this. Force yourself to only use the agent mode, see how far you get, see what things you can put in place, start back over at the beginning and go through it again. And I saw that it worked for other people. What was almost impossible at the time, we thought, for Brownfield, like, oh, this is not going to work for Brownfield. This is not going to work for existing large services. We saw a year and a half ago that no, when you use these same techniques, it actually starts working. This is kind of what led then to what we now call STD frameworks or spec-driven developments. But, you know, they're all very similar. You come up with these ideas, you break them down, and you work in small pieces. So that is, you know, kind of in a nutshell what led to the original idea. It's evolved a lot to where it is now. One of the other key insights I guess I'll just mention about the BMAD method is early on I realized there was this great quote. I can't remember exactly who said it, but they said, you know, like a lot of people are treating the AI like better Google, especially older people. I think it was Sam Altman maybe, but younger people that are just seeing AI for the first time, they treat it like an operating system. It was this mind shift of, yeah, right. Instead of just asking the AI, hey, do this for me, hey, do that for me, hey, how do I do this? Turn it into a facilitator or a thinking partner where they are working with you to get the good information out of you. That I started realizing just kind of made this magical experience where I was working with it. And that's where I started getting the ideas then to add more into the BMAD method than just the STD framework, such as the brainstorming and some of these other thinking tools, where it really refuses to give you the answers, but it helps kind of pull them out of you. And we'll see some of that today, you know, when we go through the demo. And yeah, it's grown from there. I mean, it's a lot larger now, and there's a lot of other pieces, and we can talk about some of that if you're interested, but that's kind of briefly where I came from and where, you know, where this thing evolved from.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great overview. So I like it very much that this comes from like a longer time ago where the context windows was smaller. So you had to kind of think of every word that you put in there because it makes the context larger, right?
Yeah. Also, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's even useful today to have a really small context, even though you would have a bigger one. But I think keeping it small still makes sense to keep it efficient.
Yeah, it really does. No, it's right. We had, you know, 80,000, 100,000, and then 200,000 context. And with the early cursor, even though you had 200,000 context, it didn't feel like the 200,000 context we have today. When Claude really blew up about the middle of last year, maybe about a year ago, that was also only 200,000 context, right? People coming into it now might not remember that, but the change from the feeling of Cursor's 200,000 context window at the time to Claude, they had other optimizations in there, and all of a sudden it felt like people forget this, even with that 200,000 context in Cursor, it still only felt like you could get maybe 2 or 3 good turns of a chat before it would start hallucinating and you were out of context. And early on, we didn't even have that context counter. So you never really knew where you were at, but you would just know it would get like really dumb really quick. And then all of a sudden, this switch to Claude, whatever they did with their CLI in that first like really popular release around the same time of that model, it felt like you could go 10, 15 turns of the same chat that was like 2 or 3 in that same context window. And then the context windows grew. But I think struggling through those early limitations of the smaller context and still being able to get it to do like really challenging, amazing, good things, I'm with you there. It kind of still gives you this like this discipline or this thinking of like, just because I have this, it's still better to like understand how it works and like really stick to the lower context and keeping it as lean as you can. So
so that's what I see a lot with a lot of skills, that they are so long, and you if you want to understand what they do, you have to read all of this. And I mean, it's the same for the LLM. It has to put it all in the context window and keep it there all the time. to make it work. And I think, like, for instance, this grilling skill from Matt Pollock, I think is his name. That is one line, 2 lines, I don't know, but it's really small and really powerful, and it gets right to the point.
That's one of the I think that's one of the key innovations that's really evolved over the last year. Like, first there was no skills, and so really if you had a prompt, it was taking in your whole prompt, and that's kind of what you had to do. And there was not even a standard way to pull it in. Maybe you would like point it to the file, or you would at the file, or depending on what harness. The beauty of when skills came out is, you know, they had the front matter, so it would know about the skill, but then it would not actually load the skill body, which, I mean, this is what we have now, right? It doesn't load the skill body until you use it. So you're already saving context, giving you an awareness of what it has available to it, and then pull it in. The other really nice thing about skills, though, that I think people miss, or that they don't even use to the fullest extent, is also the progressive disclosure. So yes, you want to keep the skill body slow, but also you can make very complex skills if you want to, and you just have it only load the information it needs as it needs it. The other, I think, big innovation with the skills is you can also work in the deterministic code into it. So optimizing your skills to use, you know, Python scripts within them, or TypeScript that can be embedded in the skills. And anything we can do deterministically, you can, that doesn't bloat the overhead with, like, you know, pulling in files or reading files, or summarizing things and then taking it in, and the LLM is exposed to just what I need. So I think, you know, the skill thing has been amazing. It's allowed for really interesting patterns. And, you know, even with BMAD and the way we write skills has evolved over the last, you know, 6-8 months since, I'll say 6 months since, like, skills really kind of got big. We've gone through 2 or 3 phases and rewrites of how we write our own skills. We write, as the models have gotten better, I have learned that you can give them less regimented instructions and instead prompt like you're giving it a goal. And that's why you end up with these, you know, good quality skills that can just be a few lines and not very bloated, because you don't have to tell it, do this, do, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I took one prompt recently that I had written in the early days with progressive disclosure, but, you know, it was probably overall 2,000 lines of skill code. It was effective, it worked, but there was a few problems with it. One is that it was so on the rails that it would just always run, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, and it just always felt like that. And you know, you could kind of put, like, you know, if they said this, do that, or else do this. And that was the idea early on of, like, writing these skills, is it felt like you had to tell the LLM that. What you realize really quick, though, is I threw all of that out and I replaced it with, like, a paragraph with, like, 3 sentences, kind of like you were just saying. And I got about 99% of the same experience that older 2,000 line skill took up. The reason being is, A, the models have progressed. They have more training data, and they know a lot. They know a lot. The models are now trained on all of these techniques that we're talking about also. So you just need less guardrails for them. And also by just giving them a goal. For example, instead of, like, saying, we're going to create an architecture, and first you're going to do this step, and then we're going to talk about, I don't know, security, and then we're going to talk about, you know, what tools or what libraries we're going to use. Throwing all of that out and just say, we need to create an architecture, and the purpose is downstream we're eventually going to have these small coding agents working with humans that are not very intelligent, and we really need to help keep them on the rails. So that's the real purpose of this architecture. Your goal is to facilitate and help the human, and not just give them the answers, but help, you know, but help them along the way. Something like that, right? Like giving it a clear goal and what the real purpose of the outcome is. What we realized is, you know, the goal is not to create a PRD. The goal is not to create an architecture, right? The goal is to think and get these things down for a later purpose. So when you start thinking that way, we saw if you just put that, and that is your only prompt, this thing will work better than these regimented giant skill files where you think you have to put step by step in there. And the other thing is, it is now more, I guess a good word might be like organic. it can think in different ways. It can modify. It can, you know, call an audible, and just by putting less rails on the skills on the agent, they're better. They actually help you better. So that's been a big learning for me over the time, and why BMAD also just keeps evolving, right? Because we learn things, we learn these new techniques. We've tried a lot of different things, and this is where it's getting now. So yeah, leaner, right? Leaner skills, better context, and it makes the models more creative and actually help you better by giving them less. But the key is, like, and I want to repeat this again. The key is not just less text, or, you know, just giving it a one-line thing, but giving it a clear goal and outcome, or OKR almost, right? It's almost like assigning it a key result, and it knows how to then take that and translate and do what you really want it to do and help you.
It seems like you've been handling the AI like a trainee, where you have to tell the trainee step by step, hey, you have to do this, then that, and that. And now you're switching to a more advanced, I don't know, employee or something, where you can give the agent much more autonomy, and it will get you much better results because it knows that these steps are necessary if the case fits.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If you right, and that's a design choice, just like anything. Maybe you need a skill or a prompt that really does go through, you know, do A, then do B, and then do C. So that's still valid. Another big change that I've done is I mentioned the progressive disclosure. And so maybe you have a skill, and the skill can do 5 different things. You can now, you know, split those out and put them as separate, like, sub files that only get loaded from the main skill if it's going to go down that branch. Or you can have, like, reference files in the skills. So you can still put a lot of information in your skills. If you want it to be an intelligent skill, or skill that has access to different data, you can still put that in there, but don't bake that all into the skill body. Have it loaded on demand if it needs it. And it, you know, also saves context. At the end of the day, I think that's why I went down this rabbit hole, because we were talking about saving context. And there's just all of these techniques that you can use now.
Yeah, cool. Okay, really interesting, to me at least.
Yeah, who knows if anybody else finds this interesting, but I'm fascinated how everything just keeps evolving, and we all collectively learn these new techniques and learn from each other also, right?
And I think the skills are pretty new, and most of the people who use AI use skills, I think, but still that extensive knowledge that you are having with writing those skills all the time, I think that's really interesting and valuable, right?
Yeah. That's,
in a way.
I mean, it's just gone through these evolutions. I'll say also, it might be a little bit better now with the most recent models, because now they're all being trained also on massive amounts of skill data. But the problem is most of that skill data is crap. There's skill repositories out there with tens of thousands, or I don't know, maybe millions of skills right now. And it's mostly garbage. Here's the thing. Even like Fable, or excuse me, not Fable, like Opus 4.8 or Sonnet, even 4.5. Excuse me. The models in the LLMs are not good at writing skills themselves on their own. They don't know what a good optimized skill is. Just like if you talk to the LLM and you have it write a report for you or anything else, and it's overly verbose and it puts in information that it doesn't need, or it refers to things that are obvious, or there's still these annoying ticks that are in the LLMs, right? That we are constantly fighting with. That could be a whole topic in and of itself. They make the same mistakes when they're writing the skills, and the LLMs will lie to you, or act like they know how they really work internally and how to best optimize, but they don't. Right? They will give you the confidence of, oh yeah, I understand that. Let me optimize this for you, but they really don't, and it's a lot of back and forth. So the reason I added the BMAD Builder, which is another module that goes into the BMAD method. The BMAD method is mostly an ecosystem where you can have any kind of orchestrated workflows and modules, right? We have stuff beyond coding, that go in there. There's a creative innovation suite. There's these other things. I built the BMAD Builder to have a good skill builder and agent builder for myself, because I saw, even with using like the / create skill from a few months ago from Anthropic, it was good, but it still, I don't think, was building optimized skills. Their newer skill builder is much better. They've put a lot more in there, to tune it and make it optimized. But I was seeing again, just they're not great at meta prompting or really understanding how to build the best optimized prompts for themselves. So I built up this builder, and the skill builder I will say it is very large skill, but a lot of the stuff in the skill is there progressively disclosed to guide it through different optimizations that it needs to look out for, that it can improve, such as if you tell it you want to create a skill to do XYZ, if you just talk to Claude or any of the models on its own, right, it's going to generally create a skill on its own that is pretty much going to be like step by step, put a lot of extra information in there, and it's not going to write the skill optimally like what I described, where it's going to build it objective driven, and it's going to put a lot of extra stuff in there into these skills that it obviously knows. Think about it. If you ask it to create a skill and it puts 1,000 lines of stuff in there, or even 100 lines of stuff, and it's putting all these details, then you say like, hey, you just came up with all of that stuff on your own. Couldn't you just do that on the fly? Do you really need all of that information? And it'll be like, oh yeah, I actually don't need all of this. Let me throw it all out. And then you retest the skill. It works just as good. So those are the types of things to really think about. That's also, again, it's just this evolution of like, you come to that realization, and then you can start realizing all of the crap you can throw out of your skills. This also gets to the idea of like evals, and having evals to understand like what is or is not important with the skills. So like you can run multiple tests against it and keep it lean. You can keep like carving stuff out like a surgeon and see if it still passes your evals. And then when new models come out, maybe there's even less instructions that you need there. Man, skills is like a whole crazy topic. We should,
I see that now,
because this is probably boring the hell out of people. But I'm fascinated by, obsessed might be the better word. Like, how to optimize skills.
I think really, if you're working in a team with AI, I think skills will become more and more central to that workflow, because all of the people who are working on a specific repository, on a specific project, I think it's a good way to optimize the workflow if you are all having the same skills, and if you're using all the same skills, because then you will get nearly the same results, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, non-deterministic, will you all get the same results? I've seen even with skills, it still takes training. I don't know if training is the right word, but different people with the same skills definitely do not come up with the same quality results.
Yeah.
There is I don't know if it's an art form or a way to kind of think and understand and still work effectively with the LLM regardless of the skill to get good results. But yes, basically, I think that's a good approach, is to have good common skills and a good baseline, and then also letting people explore and come up with skills, and then taking and collectively, like, taking the best ideas and filtering them up and sharing them. This leads to explosions of just great innovation and ideas and new ways of working across organizations as people learn how to effectively create these tools. Yeah.
And then the actual skill to build skills will be more valuable. So I think that's a topic that's really
definitely
going to blow up more and more over time as people use AI more and more.
Yeah, well, and I think that's also why like Anthropic and OpenAI, they've all released skill builders, and they keep updating them also. And their skill builders, they have eval generation built into them. And one of my favorite techniques is eval driven design, where you actually write the evals first, just like we used to write this, TDD, right? That there's EDD, where you write the evals, and when you're going through the skill builder, you can start with the evals. You describe what you want. It suggests some evals. You say, yep, those are good, or maybe you tweak those. And then it has instructions to build in a loop a very lean skill, minimum amount to get those evals to pass. And then if it doesn't pass, it can layer a little bit in. This can be a little bit slower process, but again, the AI is doing this. I think the Anthropic, if I remember, the Anthropic skill builder might work this way, or you might be able to coerce it to work this way. But I've built a skill builder. The BMAD builder does not actually have this right now because I think a lot of people just don't want this rigor when they're doing it more for, they just want a quick skill. But I might release it this way, or people can basically just follow this technique. Just talk to the LLM and ask it to work this way. Create the evals first and then iterate. It's pretty wild. You'll come up with some pretty good lean skills. So it won't do all of the perfect optimizations. I see it doesn't always do progressive disclosure properly. So after it does all that, then you can do another pass and say, hey, do we really need all of this loaded all the time up front? Maybe move that out or carve. So that you can still do optimizations, but it's man, I said we should move on from skills, but you got me talking.
Sorry.
It's all I do, man. It seems like all I do is work with skills now, so it's hard to get anything else in my mind because that's what BMAD is at the end of the day. It's a stack of skills.
Right. Yeah. But so we are talking about that method. So if you don't mind, we can kind of go into the coding part of it.
Yeah, love it, man.
So I just wanted to say, so this is the BMAD method. It's a public repository, and actually everybody can contribute to this, right?
Yeah, it's open. We love contributions. I mean, we're pretty opinionated on what we let in, and we're trying to gate it more. The BMAD method is really becoming a tool where we want teams to be able to use it better. So, there is some opinionated stuff we're putting in, and it is evolving. But yes, contributions are open. We coordinate in Discord. You can join our Discord. There's a link right there in the Discord to come in. Give us feedback. Help us work with this and make it better. We love that. Cool. It's open community.
All right. Yeah. So if you don't mind, we can start programming a little bit.
Let's do it. I'm excited. So you've never used the BMAD method before, so
I never did.
All right, and it's so easy to get started, right? There is an install instruction right here on the front page if anybody's running.
Yeah.
We also have docs.bmad-method.com. That has tutorials and walkthroughs, but I'm gonna show you how easy this is just to get started. And it's going to guide you pretty much through everything once we get it installed. So yeah, there's the command right there. If you want the absolute latest, there is an @next version, which you can see right there. I would start with that one. We'll just go, we'll roll the dice. We'll do this live and we'll see if the unstable version works or not.
Yeah. So what I did previously is just create this empty repository, and I checked that out locally so we can work on it.
Awesome.
This is the repository, and now we can install BMAD. Okay, so we did a bunch of stuff. We just want to install it here, right there. Install to this directory, yes. And now you can tell us a little bit about
and this is a list of modules. I've
modules.
mentioned that there's different modules. So if you're interested in GameDev, for example, you can install that. And that has a lot of tools to help you creatively think about how to plan your story. The BMAD Builder has an agent builder that'll help you build agents similar to OpenClaw or Hermes, personal agents. You can give them personalities, memory. And also the BMAD Builder has a workflow builder if you want to build your own modules or skills to go along with any of this. The test architect is more for enterprise level stuff. If you want like really good quality test and test thinking, you can add that in, but that is extra. That's probably overkill for a lot of people that just want to do basic hobby development or smaller projects. So we're going to probably skip all of that today. The Creative Innovation Suite are thinking skills. If you're familiar with like the Gary Tan stack of skills that he created, this existed before that, and it's kind of the same idea. It's a lot of creative innovation thinking, different skills like that to help you maybe plan a business idea, figure out whether you have a good idea or not, or do these other types of tools. But the main thing we're going to choose is the BMAD method and the core module, which are the two that are just chosen by default. So we can just go ahead and accept that, and that's going to give us the basic stuff that we need.
All right. I want to try that later on. But
yeah, definitely play around with it. I recommend that. I recommend the Creative Innovation Suite. It's a lot of fun. Also, people really like that. I will say also BMAD Loop. We just did a live stream about it, so I won't talk too much about it. Other than that is a deterministic Python harness that will allow you to run a sweep across like a full epic of stories. If you want to like let it build overnight deterministically, it'll try to build through it on its own. So it is, it's not a Ralph loop. It is, the name loop is a little bit of an overloaded term right now, but it's basically a runner that will do work for you after you've defined all your stories. You can say, hey, build this up epic, and you come back in the morning, you have a bunch of AI slop, but you know, it went through 10 stories, but it actually does run tests, and it will self-improve. But let's not get into that today. I think that could be like a whole other demo.
Definitely. Do you want to install constant?
And yeah, just leave that on no. The default was no, so you can just hit enter.
All right.
And then now here you want to just hit spacebar on whatever we're going to be using, and you can select multiple if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're using Copilot, so go ahead and do that.
Oh, there's a lot in here. There's a lot. Yeah.
Pretty much anything that supports skills is in here, and we're constantly adding more.
Oh, okay. Even IBM Bob. That's a rare finding.
Yeah, and a lot of these, I don't even know what that is, by the way. I actually have heard of it, but that was from the community. Somebody said, hey, can we support IBM Bob? I'm like, does it support skills?
So
yep. Okay, put it in there.
You didn't watch my last session, I suppose.
No, I didn't. I want to catch up on it. Did you guys actually use IBM Bob?
Yeah. Well, I've been with a product manager.
Nice.
And he told me about
I'm not throwing shade at it. I don't know anything about it. So what is the use case for IBM Bob? Is it similar to?
It's the IBM equivalent to GitHub Copilot or something. It's in Visual Studio Code, but it's a own executable.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's basically specialized on modernization of various applications. I think even specialized on Java modernization.
Really? I'm going to check it out. And again, no shade, man, especially to your past guests. I didn't really know about it until somebody added it there, though. That was a community contribution, so I want to try it out.
It's pretty new. So I think they released the version 1 like 3 months ago or something. So it's pretty new as well.
Okay, so it's pretty new. Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
What is your IDE of choice? Are you a Copilot or a Claude Code guy? What do you like to use?
Yeah, I'm right now I'm really into GitHub Copilot because I really like this application, the desktop app.
Okay.
But just
I'm
recently
excited to see this. Yeah.
Yeah. Just recently I got into that Claude desktop app as well because I tried it out a year ago or something, and it was really bad. I hated it. But now it's pretty passable. But still, I think right now this is a bit nicer for me.
Okay. Now I'm excited to see this because I haven't used Copilot. Like I said, I used it in the early days for like the autocomplete in VS Code, but then I've kind of switched. So I'm excited to see how well this works.
All right. So this, it should call me Johannes. That's interesting. I never had to give any username to my AI
yeah. That just, it kind of pulls it from your, are you on Windows or what are we on actually? You're on a Windows box. Yeah. So it just pulls it from your user information and finds that.
Yeah, that's fine. What language? Yes, please. Wonderful. Output is English as well. I guess that's
fine. That BMAD output, that is just where planning artifacts are going to go. You can customize that if you want to, but we can just accept the defaults. And then it's just going to blow through. Now, if you don't do it because it'll take too long. But if you go to customize, every module that you selected, it does have other customization options.
Yeah, okay.
It's too much. Most people just want the defaults. Just accept the Express. And actually, this is going away soon. It's going to be replaced with some other mechanisms just to make it easier and get going quicker. But
all right.
Honestly, that takes like 10 seconds, what you just did there. If we just blow through it and I wasn't talking so much, it's a pretty quick install.
That's
so
great.
And it tells you here, just fire up the agent. And actually, if you've never used BMAD, we can start by just asking for help. And the BMAD help system will really help you learn what the flow is through BMAD.
Okay, I think I have to reload the skills. I'm not sure. Find skills.
Oh, if you already had this running, yeah, you'll probably need to reload or restart the IDE.
Skills. I'm not sure if it doesn't search for skills online now. Let's see. Okay. I guess they are called BMAD.
Yeah. So if you, yeah, it seems like they might just not be loaded into your session because this was, so maybe just restart.
And if it still doesn't work, I just restart the application. Yes, now we got it.
All right, very good. Now, one thing is there's a lot of BMAD skills. One thing you can do is you don't even have to really remember all of these skills. BMAD has persona agents. You can do everything with those. If you would rather remember that there's a product manager and an architect, you can talk to those. You can use the skills directly, or you can just use natural language, and the right skills will generally come up. So what I would recommend is you can either do /BMAD help, or you can just say, help me with BMAD. You can even use natural language because they're all skills with pretty good front matter, and they usually fire at the right time. But what I would do is /BMAD help, and then ask it a question before you hit enter. What is our goal, Johannes? What are we going to do today?
Oh yeah.
Let's describe let's describe what our goal is to it, and then it should help us by telling us what it recommends we do.
Okay, so what we want to do is build a personal finance tracker using Quarkus and Qute. That's basically all.
That's a good idea. Yeah, and so I would tell it that, and tell it that this is going to be a hobby project, and maybe we want to do a little bit of brainstorming, or maybe we want to jump right to a PRD, or we can keep it lean. But let's see what kind of options this tells us. Now, this is non-deterministic, so who knows what it's going to tell us, but we will see.
And we want to brainstorm? Shall we try
that? We want to brainstorm a little bit and figure out what the requirements are. What do you recommend? The other interesting thing about BMAD help while you're typing that is, depending on what modules you've installed, it will creatively give you different combinations. So if you had the creative innovation suite, it might even say like, hey, maybe first you want to even create a pitch deck or see if this is valuable, or, oh, this is a hobby project. Well, let's just see what it says. But based on what modules we chose, it'll give us different options. Honestly, as you learn the BMAD method, though, there's just a few core skills that you'll probably use, but this is great because it will recommend which one to use next.
I hope this works fine, because there it says commit 513. That's a bit odd, but we'll see. I think I'm in the right directory, so it should be fine.
Yeah,
no, changes. What is this?
Load the config, so it seems.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. These are all the skill files.
Oh yes. So we did install it to the project folder. So that is now.
That's a lot of files.
That actually. Can we look at your file tree? Because that. Oh, okay. So it installed it to .agents/skills. Now. That you could choose to git ignore, or you can choose to commit it to the repository if you want. I usually, well, it depends on your model and your tool. I know some tools have issues if you git ignore or don't git ignore certain things. But you definitely don't need to commit all of those skills.
Yeah.
The way I actually work, by the way, is I don't work in mono repos too often. I have a lot of different projects. So I will have a parent folder where I install BMAD to, that has the BMAD configurations, the BMAD output, and all of the skills. And then I have all my project folders under that. And I work from that root, and it works very well. And then the projects stay clean. Another technique is to use Git submodules. But for today, for demo purposes, this will work out. We have these different patterns in our docs.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because last time I had Bruno with me, and he told me about this GitHub Copilot thing. And one thing a user mentioned was that it's a bit bad for multi-repository projects, because here, if you look at this, every project is one repository. So if you
Right.
have multiple repositories, this will go into the chat and it will still work, but it's structured in a maybe not perfect way here.
Yeah, and that is a good point. It really depends. If you're working on a project where maybe you have 3 different microservices and you're going to be kind of working all of them at once, you might want to launch from that root. But then when you want to work on one project or service, you can still have BMAD installed at that workspace root, but then you launch your IDE from one of the individual projects. You'll have all those skills available, and then you have the config for that project. And then you're not bloating your context and confusing it with all of these other things. So it's kind of trade-offs all around.
All right.
So this gave us some example here, right? So it's saying, yeah, you can do brainstorming. And then one interesting thing about BMAD, I haven't really talked about this a lot, is there's actually multiple ways to plan the project. You can just do a simple brief, and probably for today, all we need to do is a brief. We don't need to do a full bloated PRD for what we're doing. PRDs are probably for like more strict projects, or if you have compliance needs for a PRD, but a product brief is going to give us what we need. PRFAC is if you want to work backwards. This is a great technique that Amazon came up with a long time ago, where you have to defend your idea and you create a FAQ and a press release up front to really, this is more if you want to determine, do I even have a good idea? Now, this is not for hobby projects, right? But if you don't want to waste a bunch of tokens and maybe 3 months of development, or well, now with AI, a week of development, you can do this thing and it will help you harden, and it's going to grill you, and it's going to do all these other things to make sure that you have a good idea and what's good about it. So that's a fun technique. Again, all of this is optional, but these are all just different ways depending on what you want to do that you can work with it. But we can start with brainstorming. You can skip brainstorming. There's also research skills in here, or we can just do the brief. Since this is a hobby project, honestly, and we just want to get to coding, I would say let's just do create brief, and we will just describe in as much detail after we start the create brief skill what we wanted to do. And we'll let this go pretty quick so we can get to coding. There's also multiple other ways through the BMAD method. There's this full flow that we're going to kind of go through if we have time. There is also a QuickDev mode. I talked about this recently in a live stream, but let's say we just want to work on a small feature for an existing code base, or maybe you just want to do a small hobby project or something. You could just do QuickDev and talk to QuickDev. And the QuickDev is its own kind of loop where it will talk through your idea, create its own spec, and then start deterministically helping you build it. So there's this mode that will help you build very quickly, so you don't have to go through this full planning every time. But for today, let's create the product brief, and we'll see if we can get through it pretty quick. There is an express mode.
I gotta say, I love that idea of that BMAD help. So it kind of gives you universal help, but a bit specified to your needs right now.
Exactly. It's not a canned
that's pretty
help.
cool.
Yeah, and it works really cool. You know, it's not magic. Every workflow that gets installed, we maintain the CSV file that not only has the front matter of the descriptions of the skills, but it also recommends, like, do this after this other skill, or this is an optional thing that you should do here. This skill puts output here. So when the LLM reads all of that information, when you do the BMAD help skill, it also knows, like, oh, let me check if they already have a PRD in this folder here. If they do, I'm not going to tell them to start with the PRD. So it gets all of that intelligence. It's wild just how well it works. So you could be halfway through the build and have a bunch of artifacts, and it will know by piecing all of that together, oh, you know what? I recommend you just jump here. Or if we would have worded things differently in the help, like what I just described, it might have told us, you know what? You don't need to do any of that. This is a hobby project. You want to build like just a small little toy. Let's just jump right to QuickDev and do it. Or let's do prototype, and let's just do a prototype, or like all of these other things. We're still improving the intelligence, but that's the idea. We don't want it to be confusing and overwhelming, which is why we recommend people start with BMAD help and describe like you just did.
And what I found to be a problem a lot of times is that the skills have a certain sortedness. You have to do them in a specific order. right? You have to execute them.
That's
in
the
a
downfall I've
order.
seen of a lot of these other things, right? Like, well, I won't name any names, but a lot of the other frameworks, you really do have to do step 1, step 2, step 3.
Right.
BMAD is not like that. I think people have a misconception that BMAD is this thing that's regimented and a solid framework. But there's like 5 or 6 different analysis skills that you can use. You can choose which ones to use and not use. It's more for you to help you with your thinking. If you already know what your idea is, you can jump right to BMAD brief, BMAD spec, and just describe what you want. It will create the spec for you, and then you can jump right to generate your stories and jump coding in 3 steps. You can just jump right to QuickDev, or you can go through all of this analysis. It just depends. What like if you're working in a company, it matters to like research your competition and really figure out what it is you want to build. Maybe you want to jump and you just want to do prototype first. That's an option in here, and then take that. Maybe you want to start UX first. We have a great UX skill now that will help you create a design.md and another piece in there, and that can drive all of this. So we don't even have to go in this order. So it's really skills loosely combined that all work into this help system to basically get you through to eventually creating your code. Or maybe your goal is not even to create code. This can help you create actual real world documents that you need, or it can help you create a pitch deck, like I said, or if you want to get investors for your idea, use a creative innovation suite. So it's really, I don't mean that to sound like a sales pitch, but I'm just saying it is meant to be loose. You can learn good ways to go through it, but you can also start to learn how to use the individual pieces in different ways that really match your goals. It's not like a one size fits all spec kit or Kiro or these other ones that are going to like walk you through this one regimented, this is how you have to do it, conform to our way flow. So,
but to me, that's so crazy. So before AI, you had this README and you had to read through it and find out what can this repository or this library do, and what use case do I have, and this is so difficult for skills. You have a bunch of, I don't know how many skills you have, but you have over 100 skills, I imagine, and you had to read through them and find out what fits best. And now you simply have this one skill that helps you and guides you through all of this specifically for your use case. And that's amazing.
Thanks. It's really cool. Yeah. No, we love it. It was just a random idea that I had. And I'm like, this works, and I was shocked. And so now we're evolving it because I didn't even think it would work as well as it does. It's a wild concept, and the reason is skills. I said I wouldn't talk about skills anymore, but skills have front matter. We could put all of the information and all of the descriptions of all the skills that I described in our help file, but the more you do, the more overhead and context that fills up. And the LLM, the different harness tools, only allow so much context space to be used with all of the skill descriptions, where it will start to truncate and throw away skills, and then your system will not even know that they exist. So we can't put all of that information into the descriptions of the skills. We can try, but by having this additional information in this help system, it allows us to have much more and give it this intelligence to help us work creatively. And like I said, it's based on whatever you've installed. So if you also come up with 5 of your own BMAD skills through the builder, and it integrates into the help system, those will then become suggestions also. So maybe your company, you roll this out across your company and you add a compliance skill in there, or a DevOps skill, or a skill that understands how you build your projects. It will recommend those or even require those also. There's so much in here. We're just scratching the surface, but let's get to building, man. I know, or I'll talk too much about the details.
No, it's so good. That's the interesting part about this session, I think.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I am. Okay. Because for me, that's such a different way of thinking about tooling in general, right? So if you want to make or create a tool for AI, it's actually very strange that you would create some code for it. Now it's even easier and even better to create some natural language skill that helps the LLM make something, describe something more loosely but still reach that goal. And that's so strange. Such a
a year ago, Carpathy released a video or a talk where he talked about the third wave of software and how it's eating software, right? And the third wave is markdown and prompting. And a lot of people, you know, didn't really believe it a year ago. And I talked about it a year ago. I'm actually about to release a video on it. But it's true now. When you look at the GitHub metrics now across organizations and just globally across GitHub, most of the code is Markdown that is being written right now, right? So it is, Markdown is the new software. Not just Markdown is used to get the agents to have us build source code, but no, these skills, this is code, right? This Markdown is code. And OpenClaw showed us that, right? And Hermes have showed that. Like these agents that we're building, you don't need to even write software anymore. A lot of what people want to do to build their own personal apps or their own personal things of doing, it's going to be Markdown, and it's only going to increase. I think software will disappear for the most part. We're not going to be writing Java and JavaScript or even having the agents write it for us. I think that is all going to disappear, and we will get to systems that are built on nothing but Markdown. I mean, we're there now, but I think like within the next year, we're going to see it explode. I think there's stuff coming that we're just at the beginning of, and we think we're kind of like deep in it, but what's coming is very wild.
Yeah. Okay. I won't get into that.
Anyways.
I really think that it will take much more time to like get rid of all the programming. But let's
100%. I mean, I don't want to fly on a plane that has non-deterministic LLM code running it, let alone written by it. So I'm not saying all code is going away, but all I'm saying is, just to your point, the Markdown, it is code now. It is code. Absolutely. It is driving instructions. So.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's go. So this would be my prompt. Build a modern personal finance tracker using Quarkus as the Java framework and Qute as the front end. Is that enough? Do we need to?
Yeah, no. So this is a product brief. So, well, there's two options. You can just start the skill, and back to the point of like whether or not you know the skill names. You don't even need to know the skill name. What if we just got rid of that, and we just said, what if we just said, hey, Mary, I want to build a product brief for a personal finance tracker that we want to build. Mary's the name of one of the persona agents. She's the analyst.
Oh, okay. I was confused there.
You don't have to do that. You can also just say, hey, let's create a product brief. But I like talking. I like talking to the personas.
Well, let's leave the persona out of it because other people wouldn't know that.
Okay. So let's just say, hey, let's create a product brief. And we'll see how well Cursor works with figuring out what skills to use. Hopefully this will work. And then describe it a little bit. Let's say we're building a hobby project to test out building a personal finance tracker, something like that. And the reason I like to say that is because it also just helps it ground it in how much, like, it's going to know we're doing a hobby project. We don't need to do like competitive analysis or deep research, right? It's going to keep it simpler. So you want to give it that kind of framing, but hit enter. It'll ask us questions, and one of the first things it should ask us is, you know, if we want to, eventually it's going to ask us if we want to go fully guided or we want to do quick flow. A lot of these skills also work autonomously. So if you just wanted to like best guess, create a product brief for you, brain dump, use something like Super Whisper and just describe it all to it, you can do -- autonomous, and it will come up with a pretty good product brief on its own. But I like to do these somewhat interactive. And this should go pretty quick once it finishes loading everything. So you can see there's some deterministic stuff going on there. You can see it's doing some Python stuff. So it is loading some of your settings. It's seeing if there's already some stuff in place. So if you told it you speak German, for example, right? This would be speaking to you in German right now. I think
all right.
We did choose English at the beginning, right? I want to make sure it's not broken. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, so see, like exactly here, right? No investor grade padding, just a brief you're proud of, and that sets up to a clean PRD later. And secretly we don't even need to do the PRD. Before I ask anything granular, give me a brain dump. Now, this is where I would say use Super Whisper and just describe as much as you can into the chat. It will save us a lot of time, and the more you give it, the better it's going to give us what you want. So go ahead and roll with it, Johannes. Whatever you want to tell it, the details of what we want to build, features, what we want in our MVP.
Well, I didn't really think about that all that much. So this is all I got.
Okay.
Maybe
maybe give it a few more. I would give it a few more details.
Okay. Keep finance persisted in ins and outs and track the purpose. The exchange. I'm not perfect here. Oh, it should be mobile friendly. Let's say that. Mobile friendly.
Okay. Is Qute? That's the same as Qt, right? Is that I used something called Qt a long time ago? Is that the same thing?
I don't think so. So I never used Qute myself, but it's like a templating library for Quarkus, and you can easily write some HTML there and build some calls into the Java backend. So it's a really simple way to have a front end in your backend application, basically. So it makes stuff really, really fast, really easy.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think that. Oh,
sorry about that. Hit the wrong button.
All good. All right. Shall we try it?
Yeah, let's do it. And we can, we can tell it if it starts asking too many questions, we can just tell it. Oh, well, here, hold on. Well, go ahead. No, it's fine. Go ahead. But it was telling us, it's going to offer us either the path, the fast path or the coaching path. Now, since we didn't give it a lot of information, it might ask a few questions, but we can just tell it fast path. This is just a demo project.
Okay.
All right. So it's setting some sum up for us. It knows what the stack is. Who's this for? So, okay. So here it's going to start asking us questions, right? So we could do that, or we could just tell it, hey, like, take your best guess. We just want to build an app. Give me a brief. So you really have those options.
We got a little time, so I would like to try out.
Let's go through it then. Yeah, definitely. So,
who is it for? It's self-hosted for my family. I got it.
Yeah.
So second, the itch. What's frustrating about your current way of training? That's funny. Okay. Well,
and honestly, the answer could be it's because we want to just learn how to build an app, and this seemed like a good idea. Like that could be your answer.
Okay. To demonstrate how to use the BMAD method.
Yeah, there you go.
In a demo. All right. Third one, beyond in-out logging. Which of these do you actually care about for first version? Yeah, categories is good. Please, budget, limits, okay. Nah, we don't need this. Charts would be nice. I love charts. Yeah, that's it. And multi-user. Ooh. Okay, let's use multi-user, but with static user names and passwords. So to make it
for demo purposes, easy. I like that. Yeah.
Yep, for the demo. Perfect. Okay.
Oh, and since we didn't say it might ask us or it might just assume. Oh, it's going to assume fast path. I like that. That's good. So it's going to assume the fast path because this is a demo.
Assume. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Oh, this reframes everything. Vehicle.
Oh, see, now I hope this isn't the LLM over indexing on just that this is a BMAD demo, but we'll see. So. By the way, while we're in here, so this is Copilot. We're using Claude 4.8. It looks like high.
Yep. Oh yeah.
What is that interactive drop down? So there's some stuff in here I just haven't used in Claude Copilot. What is that drop down to the left?
This one, yeah, you can basically say plan or autopilot where it just is in YOLO mode, basically. If it uses any commands.
If it gives it a question, will it just answer the question for you and keep going?
I'm not really sure about that. For me, autopilot means if it wants to use a tool, it won't ask you if this command is all right or anything. It will just execute it.
Oh, got it. Okay. There was I forget the name of it now, but there was a tool where you would use it, and then it would have a timer if it asked you a question, and then if the timer ran out, it would just answer it for you. And I used to love RuCode, I think it was, and it was fun because sometimes I would just do that, and then just come back a few hours later just to see what the hell it did and decided after a long time. Usually it was crap, but sometimes it would come up with some interesting things.
All right. Okay.
All right. So this did a really quick brief, right? Now, of course, if we would have done the interactive mode, it would have talked back and forth with us and, tried to get good details. But
yeah.
This is pretty good.
Okay. So this is a self-hosted family finance tracker framed as two problems: the demo and the family's private money tracking. Right. The solution ins it out with purpose, filtering category. Time charts, yes. What makes this different? Honesty of scope. Yeah, okay. Who this serves the family in BMAD learners, yes. Success criteria is a split demo versus product. Not really sure what that is.
Split demo versus product. Oh, I think is it saying, are you doing this as a demo, but you also eventually really want to productize this? Or I think it's saying this is, I don't know, who knows what it means. It's LLM talk right there. I think that's what it means.
All right. And the scope is really small. Yeah, that's what we mentioned that we want to have. And vision canonical BMAD reference project product growth path. Okay. Oh, especially PostgreSQL. I didn't even read that anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Now, this is, it shouldn't really be making too many technical decisions at this point, but I guess it is just locking a few suggested things now just based on what we've said, but we'll be able to harden that and choose those choices later if we want to. Before you continue, a few other things to point out here is there's been a lot of talk about just the bloat and over verbosity of the LLMs, even the way it just talked right here. So there are these, after it creates the documents, there are these editorial passes that go over the documents now. First of all, it just makes us not repeating it, make sure it's not repeating itself as it's gone through different sections. But then it also does a quality pass where it does try to compress it and get a lot of the slop out there. As you're working through these different skills, it's actually creating, if you go through a long conversation, if we would have done the normal flow, it actually just creates a decision log or a memory log as you're going through it, keeping your lean decisions. And then it uses that to create the overall document. So it avoids a lot of the LLM just putting a lot of extra bloat or things you never talked about in there. So it really helps. We lost the screen.
I did switched it off just to make sure that we can open this in Visual Studio Code if there is any output. Yeah.
So here you go. Yeah. And by the way, at the end of the brief, when we get to it, it will also offer to make you a nice HTML, which I find like HTML are the nice new things to read. But you can see there's that memlog that captured just succinct decisions. And then this is more of a narrative brief if you wanted to read through it. It hasn't done the polish or anything yet, so it's still a little bit bloated, but it's pretty small, and it's actually not too bad. That's why I like the brief. A lot of times for these projects, I don't do PRD. I just do the brief and then I run. I'll show you the flow afterwards.
All right. Okay.
Just because we might run out of time, I'll show you another quick feature. Have you ever tried party mode?
No. What is that?
Would you like to try it? So party mode. So when you install BMAD, it installs 5 or 6 personas that I mentioned. At any time, whenever you're working on something, you can bring in the team and you'll get these different perspectives talking about it. It sounds silly, but it's actually very effective. So you could say, I want to talk to the party and see what they all think about this. Now, if this doesn't work, we could just do /party mode.
Yep.
But we'll see if the natural language gets picked up here.
That's funny. I imagine them talking to each other and
yeah. So there's going to be a product manager, a scrum master. Let's see. Okay, good. So live demos, you never know, but it worked. It's loading the party mode.
All right.
The party mode is cool too. If you just use party mode, you can set up different custom parties now. So maybe you want to set up a party of founders or a party of the Star Trek original series if you want to talk to them, right? And you can set up all these scenarios, but it's actually a very cool, useful tool that tons of people are using. One person, I talked about this in the last live stream, they took their customer data, their idealized customers, fed it in and created a party of their ideal customers. And now when they talk about new product features, they use party mode, and these different personas actually will rip apart their product or give them suggestions or talk about it. It's pretty awesome. So you can see here we have the analyst and the product manager, and Winston's the architect, all giving their different input and looking for different things. This is this is a big context talk. Yeah, there is a little bit of
delighted. That is funny.
Somebody in our community, actually, Paul, he created something called Agent Vibes, and if you install that, you can actually see the different personas in 3D space if you want to, which is, again, it's more of a fun thing. But you can also give different voices to all of these, and they all have their own voices, and they will talk to you if you want to. If you ever wanted to do that, it's not practical. It's wasting tokens, right? But it's fun, and sometimes if you just want to have fun with it, but there's actual creative uses for all of this stuff too that it leads to.
But what I did get into in the last couple of days was if I'm having a long drive somewhere, I switch on ChatGPT and just talk to it, and it's great. And I think a couple of weeks ago they updated it to make it even more humane. So it's saying like, yeah, okay. While I'm talking,
the voices and the tones. I love it. I that has replaced podcasts for me in the car too. I do that all the time. And then I take those transcripts and I throw them into my vault and process them. And I pull lots of good ideas out of it. It's awesome, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. It's so cool.
That's crazy. And I see myself then arguing in the car, like gesticulating. I don't know. Working with my hands and stuff.
Exactly.
It's so crazy how much you can get into that kind of conversation. So I imagine that would be a wonderful distraction, or actually kind of productive if you have these different personas, like you really feel like you're part of that conversation.
No, it's crazy. A lot of fun. I mean, again, we don't have time to read all of this right now. But you can see it's actually pretty valuable, because sometimes they'll point out things that you missed, or it's different lenses. The LLM, even though we're in a single conversation turn, is actually good at split braining itself, even without using subagents, and taking these different personas. At the end of the day, this is much like the advanced solicitation feature, where it's, here's a tip for everybody. The LLM, it operates on a bell curve, right? It's giving you average responses, middle of the road. So that's why there's advanced solicitation or party mode, or just you having a good technique to say, hey, LLM, did you consider 3 other ideas and what's really the best one? Because then it will get it to think beyond just the average bell curve answer. So that's really why there is the advanced solicitation feature, which has a bunch of techniques to get the LLM to rethink things and come up with different ideas, or this to get it to really force and look from different lenses of what it's doing. It's just a technique to get better results. Now, this bloated your conversation, and if you're going to keep going, I know in Claude Code, you can hit double escape and then go back in time and kind of put that back out of the context and just take any takeaways. You could do that if you want to, but we're almost at the end of this conversation, so I think it's fine. We can just keep going.
Yeah. I actually thought it would say how much of the session is used here, how much context is used, but I guess that's different now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the Copilot view, so I'm not sure.
And they bring updates almost daily.
Right. The tools literally change every day.
Yeah. All right, but let's keep going then, right?
Yeah, let's keep going so we can get to coding. So do we have? I forgot. Did we actually finish The
So we
product
have that
is,
brief.
once you're happy, say, oh, so let's just tell it end party mode. If you don't know how to go back in time, let's just say end party mode and apply the editorial polish. Oh, you can do that.
Let's
Oh,
try
wow,
this.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. So that's going to fork the conversation
Hopefully.
like none of the other stuff happened.
that's
we'll
what
find
you
out.
would expect, right?
Maybe that's what it does.
Okay,
else it's going to get really confusing. Yeah.
What shall we do?
It says let's just assume we're happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
So just say, yep, go ahead.
And it will go ahead with a PRD.
Well, no, let's just say, yep, go ahead with the editorial polish. We're going to skip the PRD, I think, for today.
Okay. This matches.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, that's
perfect.
Fine.
That's what
I like that. Edit and rewind. Nice. I like the visual interface was able to help you do that. Yeah. I don't know if Claude Desktop, I'm sure Claude Desktop must have that by now also, but that's one of the reasons I've always used the CLI, because you can go back and you can fork conversations, or you can go back in time. So that's really cool that they added that in here. Now, that was a very short document. Do we really need an editorial pass on it? Probably not. But when you imagine longer bloated documents or larger PRDs, it's really good to do that. And then also, another new feature that we might get here, but I know it does it in the PRDs and the architectures, is that it's also going to ask you, again, what is your purpose for doing this document? Maybe you don't need a whole massive PRD. Maybe you want to create that artifact because you want to have a meeting with 2 other people to explain concepts. And it will make targeted smaller presentations and documents just to explain just that. So a lot of people complain about LLMs when they produce documents for me now. They're too bloated. They put too much information in them. So all of these skills have now been reworked to have a step at the end where it says, like, again, what do you really want out of this? What do you want to do with it? How do you want to present it? You have the lean markdown thing that it'll create, but you can have it produce these different documents for you. For example, recently, I had a pretty large architecture. It was pretty complex. There was going to be multiple features, multiple teams. But I just needed to take it and have a meeting with technical leads across a few teams to talk about some key concepts. So I told it, for the final output document, I really just want to have something prepared so I can have a meeting with all the technical leads so each teams know just the pieces they're responsible for and what they need to understand up front so they can get to work. So instead of having to give everybody a document that was going to be a 30-minute read and, very bloated, it created this really great, to the point presentation of just the key facts that they needed, and it was able to facilitate that. Now, internally, I still have the full memlog of the PRD and the architecture that I used in this example. And so all that information is still there later for downstream, but it's also able to create these different artifacts to really facilitate, again, whatever your goal is. Going back to the whole skill and goals and telling it what your goal is. Yeah, it really helps there. But okay, where are we at now?
Cool. Your brief is ready. All right.
Okay, so yeah, it actually uses the BMAD help internally at the end of any skill. It actually calls BMAD help, and that's how it knows. Again, this is not something that's baked in. It's actually going to suggest different things. Now, again, we don't need to do any of those, and it's giving us kind of a confusing thing there with the PR fact. So again, there's little tweaks that are needed here, but we're going to take our brief, and I would suggest we just run right to BMAD Spec next, and we'll let BMAD Spec.
Where does it say that?
It's not worked into the help system yet. BMAD Spec is a newer feature, but basically it can take any input and it creates a really nice spec at the altitude that we're talking about. And then from there, we can break it down into smaller stories epics and stories.
All right, but we can see that the brief is now a bit shorter than before, right?
Yeah, I think it leaned it up a little bit. And again, it does 2 passes. One is it makes sure that it's not like repeating itself in different places. It makes sure that the narrative flow really makes sense. And then it also does try to remove some LLM slop. Although I see EM dashes all over in there, so it's not getting rid of all of the slop. But it doesn't matter. I try to just look the other way. I don't know why those EM dashes just drive me crazy. I feel like it's a war against EM dashes, and I'm losing the war.
That was the idea. The EM dashes came from a long time ago, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, it's a real thing, and it's come from all the training documents and stuff. But
yeah, but
I
like
don't know why
really
they
old
bother me.
documents.
Why do they trigger me? I don't know.
Well, I hate them too because it's like the first sign that you see. Oh, okay, this is
it's a
AI,
tell, right? It's a tell. Like, oh yeah, that's AI slop. I didn't write that. But in this case, it's AI slop. But we need it, right? Because it's going to help us build our project. So,
well, it's not slop if it's
exactly.
useful.
It serves a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is just wrapping up a few things. It looks like. Now, one thing I do is, the whole point of like any of these skill progressions or the BMAD method is all of this stuff is being written to different markdown files. You don't want to keep using the same conversation for everything you're doing.
Yeah.
And also we can show you now that we have the product brief, in theory, if we start a brand new chat and we say BMAD help again, okay, what do I do next? Now it already told us, so we don't have to do this, or I will just tell you. But the BMAD help actually knows, again, that the PRD in the BMAD help system, it has an entry in the CSV that tells it outputs documents to some location. And so in theory, the help would notice those already exist and say, well, you already have a product brief and it looks like it's actually been marked done. So we can, jump to either this or this. So that's an option. But of course, we already kind of know what we want to do. Okay, so it's still doing the validations, it looks like, actually, or okay.
It created a spec.
Oh, did you start the you started the spec. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I missed that. I was talking and didn't see it.
Yeah, I just hit enter.
The BMAD spec is a newer feature. It's optional also, but this is going to be the main thing in V7 is a BMAD spec. It's a format that has 5 key sections in it. It's very distinct, and it also keeps backlinking to any sources. So you can see at the top, it has a backlink to the product brief. So it knows that that was used as an input to this, I will say, feature level that we're working at project. It breaks it down into clear capabilities that are traceable. It has a little bit of context. It has constraints, non-goals, success signals, assumptions, and open questions, things that we might want to answer. Now, the reason I created this BMAD spec in this way is because I told you there's multiple ways to kind of do the analysis, and you can do them in any order. You can keep feeding them into the BMAD spec. It will help you keep the other documents also in sync. So maybe let's say we wanted to do a really fancy UX in Google Stitch or in Claude Designer, and we come up with that. And while we're doing it, we come up with different screens and other features that we want. We download all of that. We throw it into the BMAD UX. The BMAD UX I mentioned is going to create those 2 markdown files, the design.md and there's another file it creates that's basically, I can't remember the name, but it is like what interactions, experience.md, what screens, how we navigate through them. That might determine that we actually have some other requirements that we didn't really put into one of our other documents. We'll hand that UX to the spec skill. It will see that the brief was there. It's going to back check the brief, make sure that everything is aligned, and it will find contradictions for you also. Like, oh, in the PRD, you said you wanted to do this, but here you're saying you wanted to do this. Make a choice. And do you also want me to update this for you, or do you want to keep that? And this is the whole point is this spec is actually becoming the central source of truth of what we really want to build as we optionally use these other skills to keep refining your idea. You don't have to do all of that, but it's all there. Just again, based on the level of how much planning you want to do up front, it's facilitating that. And this is the central core at the altitude that you're at that keeps it in sync. So we're not doing all that today, but that's why there's this BMAD spec here. And this now can be used to feed in to the next skill that we want to do. So let's
do it. Because I think the coding itself will take some time as well. So we should get to that.
Let's try to get to the coding. And there's a few options. If we want to do something, well, I don't know if this will work. So I was going to suggest something crazy. I was going to suggest we jump right to QuickDev, but we've gone this far. We might as well just say, Let's here, what's natural next step is the PRD. We don't need the PRD. Or since you have a clean spec, you could go straight to BMAD create story for a lean demo build. Now that is going away soon. We're replacing everything with QuickDev. So let's just try this. Let's just say I want to use QuickDev, or let's start a new chat. Let's start a new chat again. Let's just do QuickDev, and we'll give it the spec. It might complain that it's too big and need to break it down into stories, but let's see what happens.
One second. No, we are not on a work tree. Yeah. All right.
Right.
It's all here. No current. Yeah. Okay. So that's the default. It should find it, I think. Let's just commit and push to main, just to make sure. Sometimes that I'm not really sure how this all connects with the working trees.
One of the things we can do with customization, by the way, is there's a BMAD customize skill that doesn't modify the skills. It saves customizations for any skill you want to. And one of the things we can do is we could set up customizations where it knows to commit or connect to Jira. That's a whole other topic, but it supports all of that. And the nice thing is you can keep getting updates because it's not modifying the actual skills.
Yeah, but that's not a skill issue. That's like one of the things of GitHub Copilot. So if you make a new session, you can here use a new work tree. Sorry, that's the name.
Oh, and I did build that in like that. That's nice.
Yeah,
I love the work
cool.
trees. Yeah, that is cool.
But I already selected local repositories, so there is no problem at this point. Okay, let's get to coding. What did you say? We start a new session.
Let's try QuickDev and see what happens. So let's just say /QuickDev, and then before and then before hitting enter, let's can you drag the can you drag file URL in there, or can you just tell it let's use the BMAD spec, and it should just find it and get to building. I don't know if that was the file name, but yeah, it should figure it out. Hopefully it can, or maybe just say let's use the spec. It's just a
spec MD, right?
Not the BMAD spec file. I'm just saying like the spec that we created. Yeah, but I think you can just tell it let's use the spec that we created. Okay, now this could go horribly, or this could go well. We'll see.
Nah,
live demo.
I'm sure it will work.
Some of these are some newer features, and we're still working out some of the bugs. So in the old BMAD, I guess while this is running, I'll say there used to be this you would do the PRD, you would do an architecture to put some of those technical decisions in place so it doesn't drift. We skipped all of that. You would then do create epics and stories, and it would create this one long epic and stories file. That's changing soon. And then from there, you would work on one story at a time, and there was 3 skills. First, you would do create story, which would take the story file, and it would fill up a separate file with all of this contextual information. So the coding agent would not have to search for all of that information through your documents every time. So you would do create story, then you would do dev story, and then you would do validate story. It's 3 separate skills, and that's what it was recommending to you because we haven't fully removed that yet. But that's all been replaced by this QuickDev. I did a whole 2-hour live stream about it 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I'll do a shorter video soon. But the QuickDev basically is loops and kind of involves or automates all of that for you. So the QuickDev, I mentioned before, it's actually going to ask us some questions. So it's going to ask us some questions up front. QuickDev is meant to work on one spec at a time, or one story at a time of a certain size. And when it realizes it's so big, it's going to actually ask us, hey, this is a very big thing. Are you sure you really want me to try to build this all myself right now? Or should we split it up? It will do either, but it will basically take the spec. It's going to ask us some questions. If we don't have a spec, we could just start directly with QuickDev and describe our product like we did with Product Brief. And it will ask us questions. And then once it's done, it's going to start building and validating and improving until it's finished the story or spec that we're trying to build. So you don't have to use those 3 separate skills that I just mentioned anymore. But let's see. Okay, so do we want to build a foundational slice first? We should probably do that.
Yeah,
maybe let's split it. I mean, we could. We didn't even talk about prototyping. We could just prototype this and then take that through the funnel. But we're down this rabbit hole already, so let's see how this goes. What database should we use for persistence?
Yeah, let's use H2 just to make it really, really small and not
and since we didn't do the architecture, even if stuff was like recommended in the brief, it knows we never actually went through and made those hard decisions. So it might still ask some of those things here.
That's good.
But the reality is I would recommend doing normally I would recommend going through. It doesn't take that long. I know it seems because we're talking a lot, it takes a lot of time, but I would recommend, going through the fuller flow in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. One question I had, because you talk about this like it is really battle-proof, like it's a really, in AI terms, it's a really old library that you have here with the BMAD method.
Oh yeah, it's the first. I think it's the first SDD framework. Everything followed from this. I don't call it an SDD framework, but it has been around, and it's definitely, it needs upgrades. It needs to keep being modernized. But yeah.
And so what I always struggle with is you have a project. For this demo, it's super easy. You just create new stuff, and then if it runs, it's perfect.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But in reality, you don't have a greenfield project. You have a brownfield project, and you want to change something. And so how do you go about this? Is it the same? You just type in BMAD help, and then you go from there?
Well, you can also talk to the personas, but you can also just use QuickDev. QuickDev is great for brownfield. If you're not planning a whole new massive feature, you don't need to go through what we went through. You want to add a new route to an existing microservice, or you want to, to a REST API, or you want to fix a bug. Just take that Jira ticket or whatever you use, if you're talking about like a work environment, or maybe you use GitHub issues, or you just talk to it. You just talk to the QuickDev. If we didn't hand it this, you just talk to it. It is going to introspect over whatever documentation and artifacts you have. It works better than just straight up using Fable or something, because it puts a little bit more structure in place. And we do have some good testing that it's going to do, but it's that easy. You just basically use QuickDev. If it's something that you want to plan, a new feature in a brownfield, you can do that. We do have a skill in the framework called Document Project. It's going to be rewritten soon, but Document Project does scan through your project and help you make documentation in a docs folder. This is one of the older legacy pieces, and there is optimizations that we want to do to it. But if you just inherit a brownfield project that you know nothing about, it's actually really good to just go through that, because it'll also help you just document and understand your own code base if you just like inherited some really large thing. But it will help you put some good documentation in place that will help the LLM. I strongly believe that, of course, the code is the best documentation for the LLM, but it will help organize and put some things together that will help the LLM. So you could do that up front. And I think that's a good idea, regardless if you're doing BMAD or anything. Put some of these documents in place, not too many, but enough that describes maybe the structure, or some things that tell it like, hey, if you want to know what libraries we're using, look at the I can't remember what the equivalent of in Java is, but the POM file, exactly right. Yeah, thank you. Like what tools and what libraries we're using, all of those, right? Like giving the LLM those clues, so it doesn't necessarily have to search. Although the LLMs are also getting better at just finding those things on their own. Yeah. But yeah, no, this works great in brownfield. Again, you don't have to. You can go through this whole process. And when you're doing the PRD, if you're in a brownfield project, it knows the context of what is there, and it's going to be walking through the PRD and the architecture in light of what project you're working in. So when you're doing the architecture, it's not going to say, what database do we need to use? So like it knows the database that's already there, and it's going to maybe talk to you about like what schema do we need to develop ahead of time. But it takes all of that into account. This works great with Brownfield. Probably need to produce a better guide around how to use it effectively with Brownfield, because I think that does, confuse people. But this is definitely meant to be used in greenfield, brownfield, or anything.
Any kind of field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any kind of field. What's in between? I don't know. A muddy field, I guess.
So that is interesting.
Terms.
So that is interesting. So it probably has a threshold in the skills that these.
So we've done a lot of studying. We've done a lot of studying. Now that number is customizable, and you can override it, and you can set your project default. But we have found that a spec of about 1,600 tokens or less is roughly a good unit of work for the LLM to work on effectively in one unit. But specs, just like stories, before, when we were following good agile practices, we still want them to be horizontally sliced, testable, and verifiable. So if it grows a little bit bigger or smaller, but generally it tries to say like, this is the optimal spec size. It's not an exact science, and it also depends what language. German has much longer words, so it might like character count, right? So maybe you want to like increase that or decrease that, or like Chinese, they use symbols, right? So it's
you're almost suggesting that Germans use more letters to express
I don't know.
the
Does
same.
That affect the tokens? Maybe.
But I don't think so. I think that the German language is very precise. And
I agree. Well, you know what? That is a good point, though, right? It's longer, but it's more precise. So maybe it balances out. I'm not trying to describe everything just in one word. A whole country here, but all I'm saying is the token count itself is not the point. It's just trying to keep it small enough to give it one piece of thing to work on at a time.
Understand. So let's approve it to get to some kind of resolution.
Yeah, it's recommended. Let's just approve it so we can get going to it.
Yeah. And one more question, because I'm planning to use this method. I like it very much so far, and what you explained everything. But so you're telling me you are releasing a lot of these versions of BMAD Method. How do I update that? Or what's the best practice to keep it up to date? Because now I installed it in the repository.
So I can show you at the end, but if you just do the same installation, it's going to see your installation there, and it's going to offer you an update. You just click quick update, and it will update everything without losing your project, without losing any of your settings or customizations. In the future, it's going to be skill-based, and we also are thinking of adding something that will let you know, oh, hey, there's a new update. Do you want to update? But right now, that's basically it.
All right. Okay.
And it's cool, too, because you can do that later on if you decide in your project you want to add Creative Innovation Suite for some reason, or one of the other modules, or you even develop your own custom module. You can add them. You can remove them. In the future, we're going to support centralized user install if people want to do that. I personally don't like to do that because I don't like to bloat my whole system space with all of the skills I like. I like putting them in the project, or at least in a workspace of all of my projects, but we will support that in the future also. But yeah, it's very easy to update. Just do the quick update option. Very nice. Also, we're going to be releasing versions of this, since this is just going along, that will just work with the different skill marketplaces. I do want to support getting this into the Anthropic skill marketplace and in the Vercel NPX repo, and those have their own mechanisms to keep your skills up to date, and that we'll just do that. There's a few complications there that we're working through, where it will obviously need to run. It will need to know that something is out of date, so it like recompiles the help file, for example, or some of the other things. Or if a new feature gets added, it might need to add a new configuration. But right now, just quick update. It's easy. So here it's actually trying to build and do stuff. So this is cool. By the way, I do want to say also, I mentioned this earlier. A lot of times, if you have an idea, just come in and just use prototype. Just build a quick prototype and see if if it can get you there. If you want to prove out a concept, you don't have to plan everything up front all the time, especially for hobby and greenfield projects. Come right to the QuickDev, or use the brainstorming and go to spec and then come to QuickDev. There's all of these flows. Or don't use BMAD at first and just build your prototype. Take your working prototype if you like it, and you can take that and then use that as an input to actually harden your project. A good technique in general, I've found, regardless of whether you're using this framework or anybody's skills or anything, is do prototypes, build stuff fast and quick to prove it out, but don't treat that like the code. You're going to spend a lot more time if you then try to take that and mold it and refactor it and make it something that can actually scale to what you need. So plan on throwing your prototype out, but what you can do is you can go back to the PRD and you can say, hey, I built this prototype. It's in this folder. This is great. Understand it. There's a few things we need to talk about, changes I want, and how we build this, and then go through the actual process of making it a real project. It's a great flow. I do that a lot for my own small projects. I start with a prototype. Actually, I'll do brainstorming. I'll take an idea from the brainstorming. I'll say, yep, I like that. Let's harden the idea, build the prototype, and then feed it back in.
Yeah. So for this, I really liked your idea about this PRFAQ. That sounded pretty useful for it, just because I have a lot of ideas and most of them are really garbage. So if I have a skill like that to help me find out that this is garbage earlier, then this is helpful.
Johannes, when you have some time, if you're going to try a BMAD Smart, two that I suggest to you is try out the BMAD Brainstorming. Other skill frameworks, they have things called brainstorming, but it's not like the BMAD Brainstorming. The BMAD Brainstorming, it's going to ask you a few questions. It's going to pop up a UI, and you select if you want the AI to be a facilitator, a partner where it riffs with you, or do all your brainstorming for you. But choose the first option, and then it's going to show you a menu of like 90 different techniques. It's this visual HTML that will pop up. So it's all of these wild techniques. You can select 2 or 3, or you can just say randomly how many you want it to do, and it's going to guide you through each of these techniques. You will have a brainstorming experience, I think, unlike you've ever had before.
Right.
I love it so much. It is my favorite feature. And at the end, it's going to create this beautiful HTML bespoke artifact with nice graphics. It's going to be riffed on the ideas you went through. It's going to work through this technique in brainstorming where it goes wide, it collects all of your crazy ideas, and then it helps you converge them at the end and find connections even between your good and bad ideas. And you're going to come up with a real block of some cool ideas at the end. So play with that sometime. People have told me they spend hours just doing the brainstorming. This is like the one thing that they love, like and this is not just like code brainstorming. This could be like trip ideas, birthday ideas, but it's unlike any other brainstorming experience I've ever had. It is so much fun. I love it. And then you can take those and throw that, like, hey, I came up with this stupid idea in brainstorming. Jump to the PR FAQ and like, let's defend this. And it'll tell you, oh, this is dumb. What are you thinking? Or like, well, what about this? And you need to really defend your idea. It's a mental workout, but it's worth it. If you really want to, don't do this for everything, but if you really think you have like a great idea that you want to invest sweat and time and money into, it's worth throwing through some of these processes just to see if it can. First of all, it's going to research for you. It's going to find if like your idea has already been done when you think, you have this. All the time it happens to me. I'm in the shower. I have a shower thought where like, oh, let me run to the computer. I have an idea nobody's thought of. Dude, there's 20 of these already, right? What's special about yours? And then I'm kind of like sad, and then I have to think hard. And I'm like, well, yeah, but what about this? Nope, somebody's done that already. But so you don't want to let it kill your idea, but it is going to force you to kind of defend and attack. It's fun.
That's really helpful. So early on in my career, I also thought a lot of times about great ideas, and I always went to my boss and he asked like 2-3 questions and it was done. It was like, how could I be so stupid, right? But he just had a different perspective, and a lot of times that helps so much.
Oh, it's great, man. Like rubber ducking, or just like just throwing an idea and having them play devil's advocate. There's another skill in here also called Forage Idea. I think similar to Grill Me, but it's a little bit more where it will help you also kind of go through this process of attack and defend an idea. So if you take your brainstorming and then throw it into Forge Idea, that will actually also be a flow that you can use. So another one that I do, by the way, is I just start with brainstorming. I do Forge Idea. From that output, I go right to spec, and then I go right to create my epics and stories and start building. I can do that all in sometimes in one conversation flow and get to building in half an hour an idea that I know I've hardened and is a good idea, or at least I think it's a good idea. So multiple paths. Great. Maybe that's confusing for people that there are so many paths. So I do want to like really improve the BMAD help to just help people know there's all these different ways. But we're getting there. You know, it's we're learning. We combine things. If we have too many things they're doing the same things we do, we will merge things together. But we want to give people options. One thing I learned is like not everybody thinks in PRDs. Not everybody thinks in, you know, PRFX or these other ways. So we want to give these options, but also, I don't know. I would be curious if people think it gets more or less confusing with all of these different options.
Yeah. But I think you're absolutely on the right track with that help skill. Cool. Yeah. So you told me.
Oh, so this is actually building and testing stuff already. I haven't even really been paying attention to what it's doing, but I guess it is actually building something, huh?
Yeah. I hope it's finishing because you told me you only have like maybe 5 minutes left or something.
We do have to wrap this up, but
right.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't put a lot of thought into this, so who knows? Who knows what it's actually building? So, I mean, we're just kind of showing the idea, I guess, right now, anyways. But people. So,
I will release all that code later on and share a screenshot. Then we at least know that something was produced.
Man, I would love to. Yeah, I think so. It did end up like building it into a couple specs, or did we just say no? Go ahead and try to build the whole thing because
I don't think it wrote more specs. Well.
At the end of the day, I would probably call this a prototype also. So, you know, it might need some work, but you know, one thing with QuickDev that I didn't describe really quick in the last few minutes we have is it is creating tests and it's running through, and we have 4 lenses. So when it does a block of work that it builds it then runs subagents with 4 different lenses. It checks the code. It makes sure that it's not bloating it. It will move some stuff to deferred work if it's trying to gold plate things. It keeps it lean, and it will do a certain number of iterations where it will improve and build the code and then move forward. We didn't set up project preferences or coding preferences. Those are all options. We can set up. Spec Kit calls it a constitution. We call it a project context, but we can preferences, excuse me. And we can set up these files ahead of time, by the way. So if your organization has certain standards that they follow, or certain coding conventions or all of that, we could have set that all up. There's a skill to help you set all that up. And then it would actually have other standards that it also, you know, runs against or check. But of course, we skipped all that for today.
Yeah. All right. It doesn't finish in time, unfortunately. I think you really did a great job at explaining all that concept, and it's really cool to have such a skill-based library that is really advanced and really robust, right? It's not just like 4 skills slapped together. It has a lot of quality, and I think you also see that there's a lot of thought that went into all of this. And that's great. That's great, really.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Johannes. Man, this has been so much fun. I wish we had another 2 hours and just I'd enjoy just building with you. And but maybe we'll do this again someday. You're always, you know, welcome. And anybody watching, please just, you know, come and join us in the Discord, ask questions. You know, we're always in there. We can help out. And yeah, this was awesome, man. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for explaining all of this, for being my guest. It was really a lot of fun, and I hope to see you again sometimes, maybe at JCon. That's a Java conference, but we do have special AI tracks, so maybe there's a place for you if you ever want to go to Germany.
All right. Well, I am down. I would love to. It's been a long time since I've been back to Germany. Even though I seem to have insulted everybody and said that the German words are long.
No,
but if I'm still welcome there, I would love to come. Hey, let's talk offline about that. Yeah, maybe that's an option.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you all the viewers for watching. I hope you learned as much as I did. And see you at the next session.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.